Yeah. I watch my hand hit my phone, time to wake up out my sleeping. 6:31, I wonder when my flight is leaving. Fresh up out of Houston and my credit card is bleeding. Gotta make the money back, so I'll be grinding till the evening. Even on the weekend, I've been off the deep end. A paralyzed mind always starts with overthinking. Trying to move out, but my pocket's oversleeping. But it's something about my home that feels too comfortable to be in. Grateful for my mom.
Good people, what's up, what's good, man? We are back with another edition of the 3 Milli Podcast. Blessed to be your host, Caleb Smith, live from 3 Milli Studios. Just moved in. Shout out to the team. Shout out to Sam behind the scenes filming this conversation. Shout out to Sid, Devin for setting everything up, the whole entire team. We even got the intern Selena, shout out to her as well. And then my guy here, man, Nashbi, man, here at Georgia State. It's where we first met, crossed paths, and to see what he's doing now, major things, dope artist. So, man, today we're about to have an amazing conversation about artistry, creativity, content creation, and so much. Nashbi, how you doing, my brother?
Bro, I'm doing good, bro.
Yes, man.
How are you, man?
Great,
yeah.
man. Thank you, man, so much. First guest here.
Oh,
Bless
man.
the space. So,
I'm humble, bro.
Hey, we appreciate you, man, pulling up. How you been?
Oh, bro, I've been all right, bro. I've been
Yes,
blessed,
sir.
man. God is good. A lot of good things, man. Challenges.
Yeah.
But a lot of blessings, so
Yes,
I can't
sir.
complain. How about you, bro?
Same, man. Same. One day at a time. Stepping out of our comfort zones, just trying new things, and one day at a time, man. Just trying to be great, trying to be consistent, man. That's the biggest thing. So,
That's right.
Yes, man.
That's right.
Nashbi, bro. Today it's gonna be a dope conversation, man. Faith-based. Like, you're somebody that when I'm scrolling on social media, it's a breath of fresh air. Always dropping gems, words of the day. And you set a bar one time on your page where you said being consistent is a way of saying thank you to God. I'm like, yo, that was heavy. That was heavy,
man.
because, man, I think, being consistent is something that's always and often overlooked. People want to start something but not follow through with it, where it gets challenging. I know Sam said something powerful, earlier when we were getting set up about execution. And a lot of times when it's time to execute, people get discouraged or people don't want to be consistent. So how do you stay consistent? And how do you constantly try to show God thank you by being consistent?
Man, honestly, bro, I feel like God gave me that word in that moment because I was struggling with consistency. Until this day, I still struggle with it. Just being able to execute on a day-to-day basis and being able to stick to a schedule of something that you showing up for yourself, right?
Yeah.
We show up for others, we show up for our bosses, we show up for people who are counting on us, but how often do we show up for us or show up for our passion, show up for our purpose? And when it's something that you got to get up and do and no one's holding you accountable, right? If you're not setting it up, no one's gonna, your loved ones will once in a while try to encourage you, right? But at the end of the day, it's you. It's like, yo, who's gonna get punished if this doesn't get done? At your job, you get fired. You know what I'm saying? If you don't come through, in another situation, someone else can probably give you some penalty for that. But for yourself, you're not going to beat yourself up. Some people do mentally, right? Spiritually, emotionally. But I think, man, just being able to show up for yourself on a day-to-day basis, is not the easiest thing to do. But it's definitely possible. And for me, I think what gets me up every day is that purpose, it's that calling, it's that drive. It's realizing that time in life is short.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not great at it yet, but I got to give God and myself credit for just the progression. Because I think from as far as I've come with consistency, like dropping a dope music video and a dope song and then disappear for months. You know what I'm saying? And we get high, good off the hype, and then it's just flatline and they don't hear from you. And then you'll still see streams going up and you'll see blessings flowing through, but it's like, man, how much more would we have unlocked if we released, got out there, release more content? And it's like, I realize more and more that it's really us, ourselves, holding back our progression. So, I'm definitely I haven't perfected it yet, but I'm definitely trying to show up better for myself, for my calling, because I know at the end of times, speaking about God, I know he's going to ask us yo, what'd you do with this gift? I gave you this podcast. What did you do with the platform? I gave you your music. What'd you do with that? I gave you the ability to speak, to love, a beautiful smile. I gave you, opportunity, and so God's going to want to return on his investment, because most of the things that he gives us as blessings, and I just learned recently that blessings, to be blessed, I think the root word of it is literally some form of envy. That being blessed literally means that you have something that someone is envious of. So don't quote me on that. I heard it from my pastor, and I trust him. He does his research. Well, I haven't studied the word myself, but that blessing. So it's like, if you have something other people are praying for, I think we have a responsibility to follow through, you know what I'm saying, on whatever gift we've been given, and try to, like, you know, take it to that next level, at least the best we can, you know.
I love that, man. Speaking on gifts, seeing you again, breath of fresh air, artistry, lyricism at a high level, faith-based too. Nashbi, how'd you get started with rapping, creating music? And man, I remember back in Barflow's class, I think one time you showed us, shout out to Brianna. What was the song? Secret Lover? Yeah. Hey, when I saw that, I'm like, yo, Nashbi, this is hard.
Yeah,
bro.
Shout out Brianna Frost.
Yeah, I'm like, Nashbi, it's you. So man, it's crazy. So seeing that from 2019 all the way up to now with Chosen, how did you get started when it comes to music?
Oh man, that's a beautiful question, man, and I appreciate that, bro. Sincerely, dog, like, I started writing raps and rhymes since like elementary school. Believe it or not, and I mean, shoot, if we can just hop into it,
let's do it.
Like, I actually, so Illuminati, New World Order, right? People gonna be like, what? This is weird, but like, believe it or not, like, growing up as a PK and growing up in the Haitian community overall.
PK too?
I'm
Same
a PK.
for me. That's
bro,
crazy.
Come on, man.
That's crazy. Got a connection right there.
That's right. Yeah, bro. Hip hop obviously just wasn't played in the house, and you know, obviously when you listening to the words, and not always the best all the time. I had like rhymes and stuff for fun that I would, you know, be able to write, but especially poetry. And I remember just like during that time when conspiracy theories were just everything, right? Bro, I was in elementary school, literally just almost troubled by like all these conspiracy theories, dog. Like just hearing like, oh, 9/11, you know, all the different things with government and, you know, the wealth of the world and all this stuff that was like, I was in like elementary school, bro, woke, you know what I'm saying? Like before woke was woke. And believe it or not, when I was bleeding into all of this stuff in the industry, and it was actually Eminem, bro. Eminem, like seeing, there was a video where someone was discussing like Eminem's like battles to, you know, being able to like succeed in the industry without having to like give his soul up. And there was a lot of records, and to this, now that I'm older now, I understand the real meaning of like selling your soul, and I understand the real meaning of like, you know, giving up who you are for greatness and success. Some people look at it like, oh, you sold your soul to the devil, but in reality, you know, it's really just you're sacrificing yourself to gain something, right? And so I know, but some people, don't get me wrong, I know there's some people who really like sell their soul for real, but that's not necessarily in the music industry. And from my experience, it doesn't look like that's everybody in the industry, as people try to paint it like, oh, this is big cult. You know, the more I grow into it, and I might be wrong, I pray I'm wrong. You know, well, I pray I'm right. Like I pray I'm right that it's not necessarily the case. But at the time, it was just like, yo, seeing that narrative of Eminem introduced me to hip hop. And so, believe it or not, it was like seeing those conspiracy theories, getting introduced to Eminem, falling in love with his music. Then that channeled me back to Tupac. Then that channeled me back to Biggie. Then it threw me into Big Sean, threw me into J. Cole, threw me into Mac Miller, Nipsey, you know, so many people, bro. And I think literally, like, it was Big Sean, actually, my 10th grade year of high school. I was watching his series that he did with Dark Sky Paradise. And Dark Sky Paradise, he did like a video series of like kind of giving some inspiration just in showing you clips of behind the scenes when he's on the road and when he's on tour.
I love it.
And when he was recording the album in the studio and etc. And man, I saw that and I was just like, yo, it was something in me that just screamed and just captured me and was like, this is you. This is your purpose. This is what you're supposed to be doing. So it was Big Sean that triggered it for me to take it as a career. And I think that God used him really to like, to show me my calling, you know? And it was just a full circle moment when I got to meet him and rap for him. And he told me I was dope, you know what I'm saying? And that was like a life-changing, you know, stamp of approval for me, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, and at that time I was a young MC. I was a freshman in college, you know, so meeting Big Sean, shout out to Big, you know, he's just the most humble, down to earth, solid individual and artist, just bar for bar, just everything. This guy's like the legend, and I love all his music. And you know, just being able to see him in that regard, and after being inspired by him to take this to the next level, it was more than just poetry, more than just talent shows. Me and my brother, we won talent shows back in high school, won different music events. I won the one and only Sankofa Poetry Slam in high school, you know what I'm saying? Little stuff like that was just encouraging. But then when I was like, yo, I should be an artist. Like it wasn't like I should be. I was called to it. You know, that there was, you know, something there that I was supposed to unravel. And, you know, so that kind of led me on to keep releasing music, writing music. I remember picking up my laptop, my mom's laptop back in high school, and just rapping straight into it on the mic on there and taking it and putting it on Audacity, which was a free software. If y'all don't know about Audacity, and you're able to like mix the beat with the rhymes. And I was just using that to get up, you know what I'm saying, and release music. And I had like this little mixtape, and then our school had this like school mixtape, school album that they did. And that was my first time in the studio ever. I think that was like 8th grade. And then, you know, it just went on and on until finally built my own studio. And you know, and I work with the production group called Ice Pop Entertainment. You know, so they're like the most solid folks ever, and they really helped me take my sound to that next level. And I got to shout out PEG too, Panther Entertainment Group. I was there when Kenny Mason, if you know Kenny Mason, was on there, and a few other folks, and Derek and Zay at the time, and they're still doing great things now. You know, really helped me when it came to like live presence and live stage, and just kind of being, you know, an artist on as an entertainer, like really being able to engage your audience and, you know, doing that to the optimal level. So that's literally like, I know that was a little all over, but you know, that's literally my journey with music, how I got started. Most and, definitely. You know,
I love that, man. Panther Entertainment made me think about State. You feel what I'm saying? And recently, man, seeing you being on State's campus, MCing, hosting, rapping at the same time, what impact has Georgia State had on you as an artist during that time?
Everything. Everything, bro. If I could step back, like my debut real project album, you could say, was 328. And the whole reason why I came to Georgia State was because when I was a senior in high school, you know, I was applying for colleges, you know, and I literally told God, like, I've been serving you my whole life, but I've been serving you with the middle ground of like my parents, with church, with community around me. But, you know, and I did have my one-on-one with God, but obviously there were accountability pieces there to keep me in tune. But I knew enough about God to know he was real. And I was like, God, I know you're real. And I know that you have a plan. And so I was like, God, like if I'm really going to leave my parents' house, like I want to make sure that I go right where I'm supposed to be. And I knew that music was what I wanted. And I was telling them, you know, in a sense that like I kind of knew there was something in me that was like, you need to go to Georgia State. And it's just funny how life works, to where I was a part of this law camp program in high school that was hosted by Georgia State Law School. You know, and even before then, my mother is a nurse, and she used to work at Grady. So I saw Georgia State come up from when, you know, when it was not that of a spectacular university to what it is now. It's just insane. And so Georgia State, you know, with that 328 story, that number came from me literally just trying to take a chance. And I told God, I was just like, I'm just going to open a verse in Psalms and whatever, you know, and I think at the time, actually even before that, sorry, let me step back. I was trying to pick my dorm room to go to State. And I'm sorry, bro, I'm messing up the story a little bit, but the Georgia State, I knew I wanted to go, but a lot of people were saying I should have been a pastor, a minister, right? And so I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, I'm Seventh-day Adventist, and there's a few Seventh-day Adventist schools, and you know, people were saying, yo, you should go theology, because by then I was already preaching and doing a lot of stuff. And folks were like, yeah, you should go. And man, I was praying God, like, God, I think I know that I wanted to go to Georgia State because it was in the city of Atlanta. At the time, I knew that my career paths were going to be artist, attorney, and a journalist.
So it's perfect city for it.
So I knew exactly, no matter what I chose, this was literally going to be, you know, where I needed to be, where I wanted to be. And dog, I literally just, but told God, hey, if I'm wrong, I definitely don't want to be like a Jonah. So if I'm supposed to be like a preacher or something else, you know, I'm gonna apply to these other schools and you let me know. But I literally only applied to Georgia State and then applied to like 2 other Christian schools. And literally I got into one Christian school and obviously GSU, and then the one that I really considered going to, which was Oakwood University. No shade to Oakwood, but I lost my transcript. Multiple times. That's, you know, God. And then the other Christian school, they gave me a scholarship, but it wasn't enough money. I think it was like $20,000, but tuition was like $20,000 like per semester. So it was like, there's no way that I was going to be able to like do that. And it just didn't make sense. And it was all the way like out of town. That was like Georgia's, what was it called? It's one of the Adventist universities, I think in Tennessee or in the Carolinas or so forth. But anyway, so I just knew that was my sign of God giving me that green light, because I thought about UGA. I started my UGA application because my brother went there, and I wanted to go there a little bit, but halfway through the application, something told me don't apply. Like, you know where you're called. Like, you don't have to continue to follow. My brother's a superstar, man, just doing great things. He did a lot of great things in his life, and I was always just loving to be his backbone and his supporter and his right hand. But I think that was like God's time to like separate us, and for me to be like, you know, just on my path and him on his. And God called me to GSU, bro. And man, and that's where, and just to keep the story in line, that's when I was deciding, okay, I'm gonna stay on campus. I found out the dorm and the room, or the floor I wanted to stay on. There were a few rooms available. It was like 329, 327, 328, and literally, I ended up opening my Bible and said, God, allow each of these rooms to signify a verse in the scripture. And literally, like, I just randomly was like, okay, well, God, since it's third floor, let it be like Psalm whatever. So and I don't know why I picked Psalms, but I picked Psalms, and it literally was, I looked at room 329, and it was like, do not be like a horse or a mule which have no understanding. And I was like, okay, I don't want that room. And then there was a room 331, which is Psalm 33 verse 1. And I was just like, yo, I can't take actually I was gonna pick that one because it was a psalm of praise. And I was like, yo, that's the one. Something told me to like keep looking, go back and read, and it was room 328. And it said, you know, for Psalm 32 verse 8, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you, my loving eye upon you. And I was like, I'm sold. That's know, that was it. So got the room. My roommate from that experience, we're literally like brothers to this day. Everything fell in line. I made like straight A's for the first time since like third grade, you know what I'm saying, fourth grade. Like, you know, before then, like things were just a gradual increase. But college, I was just able to maximize everything. Got into the honors college. Served under
you were in the honors college too?
Yeah,
I had
bro.
No idea, man.
Yeah, man.
I wish I had known that, man.
Dog, I'm sure you were out there killing too.
Yeah, I wish I had known that. That's crazy.
Yeah, bro. So, and I was actually a 1913 ambassador with the president of the university.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
Georgia State was everything, man, honestly, for me, and gave me everything I needed. I met Big Sean, you know, obviously at the Tabernacle up the street from campus. I met DJ Khaled like the first couple weeks of school, you know, him just being at Walters, right? So just being here, and obviously I mentioned earlier, you know, meeting Mario, meeting a bunch of different awesome folks just in the city alone. So Georgia State definitely equipped me to just be successful academically, as well as, you know, start moving on with my musical career and, you know, everything else. And so while I was going to school, to do well in school, I always kept it in my heart, you know, that I knew that music was what I was trying to do, and I was trying to get it done, like blow up by, you know, in those 4 years by graduation was the goal. And I always had this dream of having like all my celebrity mentors that I would soon make, you know, at my graduation, you know, and it's COVID, right? And even before COVID, I only had like maybe one or two that I had met by then, but I mean, anyway, it's super long-winded, but
man, that's perfect. So COVID hits 2020. Graduation is then plundered somewhat. So like, how was that overall mindset of, I worked so hard to walk across that stage, get that feeling of knowing that, hey, I accomplished it. And, you know, of course, of already graduating, you still get that, but not that overall experience of walking across that stage, getting that diploma in your hand, taking that picture. So how did you compartmentalize somewhat of, dang, COVID just happened? What was that like for you?
Man, it was tough.
Yeah.
Because I had, being a 1913 presidential ambassador on campus, I worked every graduation. So I was able to see everyone else, and I couldn't wait for mine. And then mine never came, you know? So I was like, yo, that's interesting, you know? And then obviously they did do a ceremony for us somewhat that December, but even then it wasn't the same.
So not the same timing.
Wasn't the same timing, wasn't fresh. It was, they just kind of said our names. We weren't even able to sit in like the lawn. Like we had to sit in the audience with our parents and stuff. Just kind of stand up when your name was called kind of situation. And it was, they tried their best and they did a great job with that, but obviously it wasn't the same. And so I was just like, wow, God, like that's just ironic how all that turned out. But I was super grateful. But no, COVID was tough. COVID was just a tough season. It still is, you know, to some sense. Thank God things are getting better, but it definitely was a difficult transition period. You know, but I think at the same time, COVID did give birth to a lot of beautiful things in my life too. So, you know, it was definitely I don't want to say a blessing and a curse, but God provided within the uncertainty and within the challenging, climate.
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful, man.
How about you, man? How was all that stuff for you?
Oh man, what is crazy is we graduated spring of 2019, and I remember when COVID had happened. It was actually a wild time, bro, because I tore my Achilles in that December of 2019. So I was already like quarantining somewhat before COVID like even started. And I remember
how'd you tear it?
I was playing flag football and I was just moving, and I remember I tried to accelerate like a little bit, and right when I was like about to burst, I heard like a loud pop. And I was like, oh man, because I remember my brother, he had tore his Achilles like 2 years prior, and everything that I had experienced in that moment was exactly what he described it as. So instantly I knew. I was like, man, I think I tore my Achilles.
Wow.
And it was crazy because post-graduation, it was a time of feeling weird of being out of school, not feeling like the hustle and bustle of being downtown anymore. So it was just, adjusting to life after college, working, all those things. And then right when I started to feel adjusted, I tore my Achilles. And then from there, I remember I was in the crib, like post-surgery. I had surgery like 2 days before Christmas. No, you're good. So I was like heavily medicated during that time. So Christmas, I pretty much missed that. And then when I started walking again in March, COVID happens. So then it's back to the crib. I'm like, man, I've been waiting to get outside. But it was perfect because this platform birthed from that before COVID. So when I had torn my Achilles, I had time to think, I had time to reassess. So 3 Milli was born from that. So COVID to me, like it was a major blessing because it showed me how to slow down, how to pause in a moment and just be at peace being alone.
Right.
Of just being in the crib, being to yourself. I read the most books I'd ever read in my life. Like I finally got back to reading. I got back to meditating and just vibing out. So COVID, it was a major blessing, I think.
Wow.
Overall. Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So interesting times, bro.
Yeah.
And then too, man, you ran across DJ Khaled, Big Sean. You met a lot of dope people. And you said something as well, even connecting to COVID, to meeting amazing artists on your page. I might butcher this line, but it's somewhere close to it about you can't define God's love like through your circumstances. I know it's something like along those lines. And I think that was powerful. So how do we not let our circumstances, whether it's tearing an Achilles or whether it's graduation that was supposed to happen and then COVID strikes, how do we not let our circumstances define our love towards God?
Man, bro, it's like, I think the thing that God revealed to me was like, he's God all by himself. I'm God whether you acknowledge me or not.
Yeah.
I'm God despite what you decide to apply to me, what you give me credit for, what you don't give me credit for. I'm God, right? President Biden is president despite what anybody says, despite how anyone feels. Even when Trump was president, people would say, that's not my president. But
technically, he's the president.
He's the president during that time. And so God is just God all by himself. And I think what I believe him for is by his word that he does love us and that we do live in a world of sin. And so because we live in a world of sin, perfection within this climate, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I mean, we definitely can't subscribe all the events that happen and blame God, because it's literally us as mankind. We created this mess and God is the only reason why there's still good in this world at all, right? I think anytime we can have a fruitful conversation, every time you can laugh, anytime there's joy in your heart, and every time there's like peace in your life, that's God. I think that's all the proof that God exists, because when you look at the world, there should be nothing but pain. There should be nothing but horror. There should be nothing but bad storms and bad weather and bad events, because that's literally what sin is. It's a disease that just creates calamity. And so if there's ever a moment of no calamity, that's God. And if you notice, I mean, the hard times hit harder and stick us harder and hurt us harder and hurt us longer. But there's so many amazing moments that we do have in life that, it doesn't feel as heavy as the bad ones, but are just as heavy. And I think that heaviness is literally God's presence, and so I've been learning how to just trust him and understand that life is literally like just gonna have challenges. Life is gonna have pain. Life is gonna have its ups and its downs, but you should not allow those circumstances to define who God is, and try to subscribe God to your maybe fruits of your hands, or the fruits of your mistakes, good or bad, right? I think that if there's an opportunity for good, that's God. The Bible says every perfect gift comes from God. So if it ain't perfect, if it's not a gift, obviously God does enact, penalties and punishments and does what he does. He protects, he provides, he brings justice. He's a God of justice, right? You know, justice is super important. And I think sometimes we look at God like, well, God, we just want you to always do, you know, love, love, love. But God has to put down the hammer and defend the brokenhearted, to defend those who have been abused, you know, mentally, emotionally, sexually. He has to bring justice for those who have been murdered, you know, and all the things that happen. So he's love, but in his justice is still love. So I try my best to remind myself that often, that no matter what I'm going through, I can't allow, you know, that to make me change my perspective on who he is. And neither do I judge man or use man to define God, you know, especially in the buildings of faith, right? You hear about all these preachers and different men of God who fall hard, and you figure out their sins, and you're like, see, that's why I don't give tithes, that's why I don't go to church, that's why I don't do this and the third one. It's like, bro, those are men. And so we can't even subscribe them and say, oh, you're a representative of God. No, that was never supposed to be our job. I mean, we were made in his image, but a Catholic priest is no better than you know, the atheist, in the sense of just like, you know, trying to subscribe the Catholic priest or the pastor, whoever, the reverend, the bishop, and say, oh no, you are supposed to be perfect, and we're going to put you on the throne that we can't even sit on. And then sadly, some of those religious leaders accept that you're right, I'm supposed to be on the throne and do better than you and be better than you and be there for you in ways that, you know, that is almost like inhumane and more godlike. And that's dangerous. Any man who tries to elevate himself beyond like humanity, bro, it's literally a recipe for disaster. And every time you've seen that throughout history of great kings, great leaders, great men and women, at the end of the day, we're all mortal, you know? And so you can't put, even my favorite preacher, low key, high key right now, you know, period, has always been like Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Same, bro. I play him every day.
That guy is different.
He'll get you right.
I love Bishop T.D. Jakes. I love Bishop John Gray. I love my pastor, Dr. Nathaniel Gracia. Like all these different individuals are great, and I know they're great men, but I know they have their sins. I know they have their struggles, so I never put them on if God forbid, but if their sins showed in the light one day, it wouldn't necessarily trump my faith or necessarily even make me trump who they are as an individual, because they're men, you know, and they're men and women. And so, you know, I think that's super important for us to be able to like give people that grace, and being able to just like understand that God is God, whether we accept it or not, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. You know, he is who he is, you know. And Jesus, man, Jesus is popping. Shout out to Country Wayne.
I love it. Jesus is popping. I love it, man. Nashbi, bro, and your music, I feel like that truly exemplifies that, right? How does it feel to be an artist that has Jesus in his music, that has God in his music, and that's doing that every day? How does that feel for you?
Man, it's a blessing, bro, because, bro, what the craziest thing, and I think that's literally what is gonna define me as an artist. If it already hasn't, I think that's what's unfolding here, is literally like, I'm a hip hop artist, but I honor God. The same way another rapper, Lil Wayne, is just a fire rapper. He just likes to talk about what he talks about, sex and all these other things. And I love Wayne. Wayne is like one of the best MCs to ever do it.
Most definitely.
But it's like no one would call Wayne a club rapper, though he has mad club hits. You know what I'm saying? And so I whatever people want to subscribe me to, whether gospel rapper or hip hop rapper or whatever it is, honestly, accept all of it. You know, I got love, you know, for anyone who wants to put any titles on me. My whole life, honestly, I was afraid of that box. But man, cause I think, you know, when you do subscribe to, I'm a Christian rapper, so I only make raps for Christians, you limit your audience. That's limit your potential growth and your reach, you know, because there are people who you can reach who will never step foot in the church through music.
That's facts.
But the weird thing is, I think God has shown me more and more, like, I don't necessarily have to, like, he's just allowed my music to do both. Like, in one weekend, I performed my music at Georgia State Commons Coachella next to some of the greatest MCs in the city. And then the next night, I had another show at a church performing the same records. And the same people who's waving at GSU who probably aren't even Christian or know who God is, or maybe they do or are of other religions. are still vibing just like the church folk are. So, and honestly, I gotta give love, like I mentioned, to Country Wayne, man.
Yeah.
Country Wayne, Russ, these guys like superbly inspire me, and Country Wayne for sure, because Country Wayne literally discusses, the only comedian that can bring the church and the street together, and the only comedian that's independent without Hollywood, doing great things, making millions, buying mansions, like just being great.
Yeah.
And he's hilarious, and he's good at it. He's doing his thing, man, and it's super like, I love what he's done for the culture. I love what he's done. Just the inspiration he's had for me is like superb.
I love that, man. I love that. Country Wayne being independent, Russ being independent. What do you love about seeing an artist such as Russ, who's being independent, like you told me, selling out crypto, selling out venues left and right? I love calling it Staples. It's hard to call it crypto.
Yeah, me too.
But how does that inspire you crossing paths with them as well? Like Russ,
bro, these guys are legends, goats to me. Like Russ is literally one of the most, well, not anymore, I wouldn't say he's slept on anymore, because I think he's finally like getting his flowers, and I hope he realizes that, because this guy is literally like, one of the Atlanta Kings, you know what I'm saying, and or just music kings, hip-hop kings, period. To do what he does independent is insane. So meeting these guys have been inspiring. I've enjoyed my interactions with Russ. I've enjoyed my interactions with all the other different folks. Who'd you mention? You said Russ, and who else?
Russ, Country Wayne, who you mentioned as well.
Yeah, even I haven't met Country Wayne yet.
King of Facebook to me, man. He got Facebook on lock.
YouTube, IG, everything. So I mean, dog, these guys definitely inspire me to really try to stay as independent as long as I can. I'm not saying I'll never sign, but I think these guys have proven there's so much you can do. You know what I'm saying? If you literally make your music a music business, you can kind of organize yourself and structure yourself. It'll take a little bit longer, but it'll be a blessing, if you're able to see that thing through. And so, if there's some deals on the table, some going on, like I'll definitely entertain it. It'll have to make a lot of sense though. Make a lot of sense. I feel it. And we ain't just talking money. You know what I'm saying? It has to make a lot of sense. So, but yeah, those guys definitely have inspired me to take this independent thing as far as I can.
I love it, man. You met certain idols, and certain idols become rivals sometimes. I remember Rose, like idols become your rivals, and I felt that, right? Of, we can see Kobe Bryant, right? Where he wanted to be in the league, he wanted to be like Mike. Last Dance documentary showed that. And growing up as a kid, Kobe, before LeBron, I'm the biggest Bron fan, but growing up, Kobe, he was my guy first. And, seeing him trying to mimic Mike with the fadeaway, the shoulder shimmy, the mentality, the armband, the swag, the leg sleeve, everything, and rest seeing how, rest in peace, Kobe, man. I keep forgetting, man. Rest in peace, MGG, all the families involved. But man, seeing how when he played against Mike, when Mike played for the Wizards, and he dropped 55 on Mike. So seeing of how a kid who once looked up to Mike, then goes, okay, I can compete against Mike. I can beat Mike. Or I'm gonna change my number from 8 to 24. I know Kobe said because 24 hours in a day, but nah, you want to be one better. And
one better.
I get that though. I get it. And then when we see LeBron, he comes in, he wants to go against Kobe, and Kobe shows him the ropes, and now he's carrying that mantle. So you meeting Cole, what was that experience like? You made a dope music video, dope concept behind that, dope raps. And then two, for young creators, when we meet that person who we've idolized, how do we handle potentially rejection from that person as well? So how do we handle those things?
Deep question, man.
Thank you.
I'll just tell the story, bro. Chosen. That's the record that's been that has unlocked this wave of life, even though it's not even the record that is having the most acclaim. Like 2 other records have been like, anyway. God is good. That whole, this how it happened. I think it's the first time I'm like publicly like telling this story in this sense. So I think this is a first for a lot of things. And once again, big congratulations on the studio, bro.
Thank you, man.
This place is beautiful. Shout out 3 Milli, like
thank you.
All day, every day.
Bro.
Here's how this story went, bro. So I actually met Boz when they did a show at Georgia State. It was Boz, Lil Wayne, etc. They did a show here on campus for the GSU students. And I actually met Boz after the show and was able to Boz sat down with me, man, and literally gave me like 30, 45 minutes of his time and broke down the industry to me. And I'm a freshman in college. At that time, I'm thinking I'm a grown man, 18, 19. I'm coming up. And I'm like, yeah, like, you know, what's up, Boz? And Boz is vibing with me for real. And I'm looking back at my picture. I look like a child. So for this man to see me as a kid, he saw my hunger and literally sat me down and gave me the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, he told me about his deal. He told me about the records that he was working on. He told me about how, I don't even know if I don't want to say this publicly.
Yeah, you good.
But just certain ways he was able to like make his contracts work for him.
Wow.
Dude was just, bro, Boz is here. So he sat down with me, heard me spit, and like, yo, he just was like, yo, you're hard. You know what I'm saying? He messed with me. So I met him that one time. He did another show in Atlanta at the Masquerade. Killed that too. I was able to, man, it's a great venue. So he sold out that spot.
Nice.
I saw him at one of my boys actually was able to shoot the show. So I was able to kind of stick around, stay with him, go to the back, and I met Boz again. He remembered me, you know, so that was all great vibes. So I'm following Boz years later. J. Cole's obviously mentioning Return of the Dreamers 3 is coming out.
I forgot about that.
They're doing it different.
Okay.
Life is, you know. So I'm looking at Boz's story and I see Boz like, you know, selfie in the studio. And I'm like, yo, that studio looks so familiar. And I recognize the studio, not because I have been before, but Big Sean actually did Double or Nothing there. And he did, he did Double or Nothing there with Metro Boomin. And it was at Tree Sound Studios. And I saw that interview and I saw the studio. I think after the interview, I looked up the studios like, yo, man, Big Sean was there. I got to go, you know, see if I can book a session there one day and just, you know, get the same experience of just like, yo, this is where all the legends create. So I'm recognizing Boz's background. I'm like, yo, that looks like Tree Sound. So is that where Revenge of the Dreamers is at? And so I started doing my research and I discovered, yo, that's where they were. And so I was like, oh snap. And it just felt like this divine moment, bro. It felt like I love it. How all of this came. Like even me, I only discovered what Tree Sound was maybe less than a year ago. I want to say months prior to seeing Boz's snap. And so I saw his snap and was just like, bro, I'm gonna pull up. You know what I'm saying? So I found out like, I think a night before, the day I was trying to go, and I had a date with my girl. And I was like, babe, I'm about to go meet J. Cole, meet Boz, meet all the legends. I'm finna sign the Dreamville. You're gonna see me on the album. You don't understand it right now.
I'm about to make it.
But I'm about to make it.
I love that.
Yo, I told her straight up, like, baby, like, let's meet up for brunch. Cause I know we're supposed to have dinner. Let's meet up for brunch. Cause that night, I don't know. I know by the time I meet Cole and meet everybody, they're gonna have me at the studio all day. I won't be able to make it back. I'm already speaking. I'm looking back, laughing now, bro, but I'm like, yeah, that's how it's gonna go. And then my girl thought I was crazy. Honestly, she's like, babe, what? Who's J. Cole and what? She didn't even know. She knew who Cole was, but she was like, I don't understand what you're doing or why you're doing. And that was like around, like, we had just started probably dating at that time too. And she's an amazing woman. So shout out to baby girl.
Happy anniversary too.
Oh, thank you, man. Sir. Praise God. So reschedule it with her, and you know, I ended up just having brunch with her and then going straight to Tree Sound. I show up to Tree Sound. It's probably like 2:45 in the afternoon, and I show up and almost no one is there. There's a couple cars, couple vehicles, but there's really no one there. And I think there was like some producers coming out, going inside, and I'm just sitting in the car. I'm practicing what I'm gonna say. You know what I'm saying? Probably should have practiced a little harder, you know, to be honest. Then I see this red Lamborghini truck pull up. I'm like, oh snap, Cole, I heard he was inviting everybody out. So who's this? Tip? This is Young Thug. This is freaking, I don't know, like some of the basketball players he invited out. Maybe this Dame Lillard. I'm thinking it's like somebody else. And as whoever was driving really couldn't park, man. It was just driving the Lambo and like trying to back it up, and they were just, you know, kind of playing with it. I'm like, who's this? Like, and why they taking like an hour to park? Then as they were turning back, I seen a dreadlock, and I'm like,
nah, Cole in the red Lambo,
bro.
What?
And if you look on the album, there's a song that Kaz and some other rapper making. It's called Red Lambo Truck, and it's like Cole just pulled up in a Lamborghini truck. Let's go outside and we gonna rob that.
Oh yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
They weren't capping, bro. Cole had an actual Lamborghini truck while he was in Atlanta. And I was like, ain't no way. But bro, I'm telling you, it's like Cole, somebody in his passenger seat, which I then knew was his security, and literally me in the entire parking lot. He's taking forever to park. I had this peace settle on me. I'm like, yo, Cole is like one of my biggest inspirations. Come up, warm up, sideline, you know, Forest Hills, all of it just, bro, like literally is one of the, like Big Sean sparked me to take it as a career. Cole like sustained me. You know what I'm saying? Like Cole was literally like one of my biggest inspirations. And yeah, I ended up just having this piece, like I knew this day would come, because I had tried to meet him a couple of times at the 2014 Forest Hills Drive tour he did in Atlanta. He had Big Sean with him too, headlining. I tried to meet him there. I wasn't able to. By then, KOD, KOD was the next show I went to. He wasn't there either. I mean, he was there, obviously. I tried to meet him, it didn't work. So I was able to get backstage in both events or whatever, just really trying to make my way through and, you know,
to work the room.
You know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget at the KLD concert, since I had met some folks obviously through Boz's camp, you know, I remember security coming to me, yo, who you with? And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm with DJ Night Train. it was Boz's like DJ.
You know the name.
It was like, you with Night Train? All right, cool. You left me alone. I'm sitting there waiting for Cole. Cole never came. I was like, man, I'm going home. So this moment was like, oh, this is perfect, because now he's not in a stress. There's no rush. There's nothing. It's just us in the parking lot. How can this go wrong, right? So I'm at peace. I'm just like, yo, I'm about to meet my favorite artist. And by then, obviously, already meeting Big Sean, I ain't meet Kendrick, but we made eye contact.
That's dope. Hey,
he nodded at me. I appreciated that, the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? And like, obviously just meeting a bunch of my different just inspirations. Yeah. J. Cole was just like low-key like the last, like, yo, I just got to meet this guy, man. So I had this piece like, oh, this is the time. Came out the car. He came out the car first. He's like in his book bag talking to security. And I come out the car. I just look at him just like this. I'm like, yo, big bro. And so he looks at me and he kind of waves back. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, dog. And I think at that time I got a little nervous. Yeah. I was like, yo, my name's Nashbi, bro. I'm a college student, artist, you know, from Georgia State University, you know, super inspired. And as I'm saying these words to him, like, he starts putting on his bag, he starts backing up. Like, you know, I think at first when he waved at me, he thought, okay, I'm just here for the session. Because obviously a lot of people were invited. Maybe I was invited, you know, was supposed to be there, so saying what's up to him. And then like, when I started introducing myself, he just started nodding, waving. Literally, bro. Cole, I'm right here. Yeah. Cole is like further than you, but like he's a little bit of a distance, but close enough, bro. And I pulled up. I had a decently nice car at the time, so it was
like I'm not a bum on the outside.
I wasn't a bum. I wasn't like, you know, posing a threat. Yeah. And I didn't show up taking out my phone like, oh, Cole, yo, I found him. Pull up, and then like drop the Addy of the studio session, all that stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? I definitely approached. I had been seasoned enough as an artist to understand like the rules of the game and have really good etiquette, you know, when it comes to the music industry. So I was just like, you know, I really approached him on some human being type stuff, thinking, and you know, Cole's the guy who takes his fans out to eat. Like, this dude was the one who was on Twitter like, yo, I'm in your city, who's on lunch break right now, let me take you out to lunch. Like, that's who Cole was, right? That's who he is. Like, he's the type who really interacts with fans. And so when I got out the vehicle and you know, seen him, start talking to him, waving back, and then him just walking away, it literally was just like
You start breaking down pretty much, like, and
then he ran inside the stool, and I was just like, I was so confused, bro. I was like, hold on, what? Like, what just happened? Like, huh? You know what I mean? And I had KOD in my backpack, and I probably should have. And I'll give Cole credit. Maybe if I took out KOD and showed it to him, like, hey, can you sign this? Then he probably would have been more than like. Maybe that would have broke down a lot of different things. Yeah. And, yo, he got a physical copy of the album. I should probably sign it for him, right? Yeah. Maybe, you know, I always think that in my head, but bro, like, yeah, dog, he just walked away from me, and then his security just came waltzing over to me. Hey, man, you gotta go, bro. It's a private studio session. I'm just like, and I told him, I was like, bro, what just happened? He's like, honestly, I don't know, bro, but like, you just can't be here, man. It's a private studio session. I was like, bro, I know who you are. I seen you in all the documentaries. Nice to meet you, bro. But I was like, this whole thing with Cole, like, you know, I was just kind of talking to him, trying to like process. I was like, bro, what just happened? Like, what just happened? I was really like almost shattered, to be honest,
went
bro.
From highest of the high to lowest of the low.
Yeah, bro. I was just like, dang. And I'm granted, when Revenge of the Dreamers came out, I might have been like sophomore, junior in college, maybe. I don't think I was a senior yet. I think I was definitely a junior.
Was it like 2018, 2019?
That's what I'm thinking, like 2019, 2018. Yeah. And so I'm young still, like, you know, I'm thinking I'm grown, but I was young then still. And, you know, I got more wisdom than I had then. But that experience, even as I look back, could have went a lot better than it did. Just even on as a human being, you know what I'm saying? And knowing Cole to be like a human being, you know what I'm saying? It just was weird when he like shunned me that way, you know? So that was, you know, low-key traumatizing for me, man. Like when I say traumatizing, I was in a state of shock, low-key. Not like, and that sounds, I know people really have like strong medical conditions, so I don't want to use that lightly, but heavy disappointment. Then I call my girl back like, yo, babe, and actually to give faith to the end of the story, security just told me, hey man, if you want to get in touch with anybody, and I was just like, yo, like is Boz here? All these other people here, they can vouch for me, like Boz knows who I am, you know what I'm saying, etc. And he was just like, dog, like if you want to reach any of them, it's, you know, X at Dreamville, this at Dreamville, just email them, whatever. I was like, dang, bro, for real? And I was like, yo, can I at least give you some music for, he's like, bro, I can't take nothing from you, dog. And at that point, I was just sitting in my car, and I was just like, dang. So then my next step was like, yo, I know Boz gotta be here, so maybe I'll just wait around for him. And he actually did come out. He came out for like a second, and I was trying to muster up the strength to come outside again and wave at him, because I was about to leave. My car was on, but I was trying to stick around, but Boz had already went back inside. And then I was just sitting in my car trying to like think to myself, because by this time a bunch of cars are pulling in. So the session apparently must have been starting at 3:00, which I think, which is why Cole was early. I was early. It was just us. But by this time, when Cole goes in and I go back in the car, a bunch of whips start pulling in right by 3. And, you know, I literally was just trying to think of, you know, what to do, because I was like, man, I got to get in the stew, or, you know, try to make things right. And, bro, essentially the security guard came out, recognized my whip, and start pointing like, this car needs to leave and stuff. And I was like, I'm definitely not gonna go out as a weirdo, a crazy fan, somebody who's like tripping, or, you know, on that type of time. I knew in faith that I was still gonna be somebody one day, and I gotta be careful what I do. You know what I'm saying? Though I was young. And so I just drove off. You know, I drove off, man. And I was sad. You know, and I called my girl like, babe, can we make tonight work again? She's like, babe, I got homework. I already made new plans. Bro, I went back to my dorm room, bro. I just felt defeated. I felt like a fool. I felt like, you know, I was just not like, just so many thoughts of just like, dang, like what just happened? But I also felt dumb. At one sense, I was wanting to hold Cole accountable, but then I was like, maybe it's me. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe I'm the problem. Like maybe I did something wrong. Should I have approached him differently? But then I started thinking about Big Sean. And I was like, yo, with Sean, it was different. Amazing. With Boz, it went amazing. With Khaled, it went amazing. Like a bunch of different folks. Even I met Boosie, bro, at the mall. It went pretty okay. Like where
you can find Boosie.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he was fresh out of jail at that time, so I was kind of foolish. I was foolish to approach him. But I was like, yo, what's up, Boosie? And then he looked at me, gave me that Boosie look, like that, you know, that look. And then he gave me a fist pump. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I don't know, like, I gotta feel him out first.
You know, but I was like, love, bro, and I just dipped. So for the whole thing with Cole, it's just like, no, something's wrong here. Even Wyatt and Lucci, like meeting him at the mall one time, spent time with me, like rocked with me. Even his entourage, like was walking. Lucci stopped to talk to me. His entourage kept walking, thinking it was with them, and they turned back like, oh, he's still talking to that kid. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So all these experiences. Wyatt and Lucci's a trap artist. Boosie's like,
I'm tough.
And you got like Sean Don and all these other guys. It's like, Cole, out of everybody, like I'd expect to get shunned by like somebody else, but Cole, man. And then even after that, I think the biggest notable experience was meeting Russ. And bro, Russ being so down to earth at that point, I ain't gonna lie, just was like, yo, Cole ain't got no excuse. You know what I'm saying? Because like, and even now I'm understanding. Let me say this, make this straight. Artists don't owe anybody anything.
Artists have days.
They have days. They're human beings. Though they inspire us, you know, they're still their own. And, you know, we can't necessarily just think just because I, buy tickets to your shows and listen to all your art and all this, I deserve a picture, I deserve a handshake, I deserve acknowledgement. Like I learned, like that's not true. Entitlement is a problem that a lot of people struggle with. And I think there maybe have been somewhat of an entitlement thing, but it wasn't entitlement. I didn't think I deserved to meet Cole, but it was more like knowing who he was through his music. I guess I expected that interaction to be more humane you know, rather than shun. Like not even a word, you know, was spoken. Not even a I'm busy, or not even a sorry, bro, wrong time, wrong place. Not even a hey, something, you know what I'm saying? But not to say a word to me. At that point, it's like, did you even acknowledge me as a human? You know what I'm saying? I started reflecting on that part, and I was just like, yeah. So Chosen, I was fresh out of Houston, and you know, last year, and I woke up 6:31, just like I said in the song. I just started writing. It was like at certain times when you're writing, when I'm writing, and I think this is every artist who says this, they realize like when you're writing, it's not really you, it's really like God.
It's a spiritual experience.
It's a spiritual experience, and most of the time, at least with me, it's always God. But I realize that you can have a spirit of pride, a spirit of jealousy, a spirit of money, a spirit of envy write your music for you in a sense. I don't know how to explain that. Some people might think that's weird, but music is extremely spiritual.
Right.
For something that we can't see but only can hear, to have so much impact on us as man, and you know, in this flesh, music, in my opinion, is literally one of the major gateways between this world and the spiritual world. Because it's literally like almost like God in a sense. To you can't see it, but you can feel him. You know, music is in that same regard. And even when you're writing, it's an experience. And I'm writing this song, and all of a sudden I found myself healing, writing that second verse, where I end up talking about, dang, ain't ashamed to take the blame and to admit. Because in the second verse, I'm like, you know what I say? I've been trying way too much, keeping count of all the seasons. Human beings love to do this, but I wonder what's the reason. Telling glory stories like, this is how I met the weekend, when you know that in reality I never often speaking, right? Like people be
like that,
trying to name drop and say like, yo, I was with Boz my boy. It's like, he's not your boy. Y'all met a couple times, you know, good vibes. So I never ever tried to exaggerate my experiences with artists. You get a picture in, handshake, nice conversation, show love, move on, you know. But I was saying, ain't ashamed to take the blame and to admit that was me. Like I was that guy for a little while who at least was just like, yeah, you know, here's who I'm meeting, you know, but knowing that, you gonna DM them, they might not respond, you know, or they don't know you like that still, you know. So ain't ashamed to take the blame and to admit that was me. I met Big Sean, I met J. Cole, I met my heroes indeed. Big saw potential in me, recognize the MC. J. Cole ran inside the studio and speak a word to a G. I was offended, I'll be honest, who was holding on me. I mean, I only did to you what you had did to Jay-Z. I use the energy as fuel, but who would ever have think that the coldest dude on earth gave a cold shoulder to me?
Hey,
you know
I'm
what I'm saying?
I was paying attention. I remember when you said that.
Man. So that whole part was like me healing. I was just writing it, and that wasn't my intention, was to write about that experience, but it just happened, and I felt somewhat relieved and realized I'm chosen by God. And though I have role models, people I look up to, people I aspire to be like or have inspired me on my journey, I don't need anyone's validation of who I am. Big Sean, Russ, Boz, these guys treated me like a brother. They treated me like they had known me for as long as I had been listening to their music, as if they had known me and treated me with so much love. But I shouldn't even have counted on that as my validation. If those experiences went completely opposite, it's not up to them to validate me into my dream. That's literally God. Like validation alone comes from God. And you see that same theme. You see even Russ feels that way, even though like I'm still like, I don't know his religious like what he subscribes to religiously. He says music is his religion. When I talk to him, I know Russ is a Christian. He has to be in some sense.
Italian background too. So you already know he grew up in the Catholic church
or something, right? I assume, right? So, but he's definitely there where like there's that recognition of, you know, just what was I saying? Not music being a spiritual experience, but we were just mentioning the
place in God. Validation in God.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, that validation comes from God and then into yourself. You know what I'm saying? Where you have to believe what you believe. Right. So yeah, man, that's essentially, you know, what that whole part was, where I just realized that I'm chosen by God to do his will, and I don't need man to validate that. It's just him. And the moment I started operating on that type of time is the moment that blessing started to overflow. You know, people could say what they want or the comments on some of the people that said some crazy things to me, believe it or not. So when some of the blogs, like IG blogs, picked up the post and it started circulating, it it's causing a lot of discussion in the comments, obviously. And folks are like, oh my gosh, like J. Cole did this?
Yes.
Like, you know, people shocked. Some people are like, there has to be an explanation for this. You know, some people are like, yo, this kid's actually fire though. So it started bringing a lot of like, you know, attention.
Yeah.
And then there were even some, you know, but then obviously it was like, and I honestly, I expected like 50% love, 50% hate. But like it ended up being like a strong 98% love, like 2% hate-ish, not even hate. And then there was some people that just was like, oh, this dude a clout chaser. He's just making this up. He's trying to capitalize off Cole, whatever it was. And ironically, obviously the song did unlock a lot of blessings for me. But people could say what they want in that regard. But man, believe it or not, most of my streams recently have been on my single God Given, which wasn't even a single, it was a record off my EP God Given, and another record, a single I had titled After All.
Yes, sir.
Like Chosen to this day is, I think it's at like 15, 16,000 streams on Spotify, but like God Given is on like 40,000 plus streams.
10,000 monthly listeners as well, correct?
By the grace of God. But
amazing.
We're at 36,000 right now. So that's God, and bro.
Talk to him.
That's God, bro. 36,000 monthly listeners, and most of those listeners are listening to God Given, and After All, a small group is listening to Chosen. So I think more than anything, Chosen was like a spiritual deliverance, a spiritual unlock, where I had to identify and realize that everything comes from God, that success comes from God. The Bible says the blessing of the Lord makes one rich and does not add any sorrow to it. You have some people with wealth, but they have sorrow. They have their wealth, but they can't enjoy it.
God.
They're missing God. But when God gives it to you, there's no sorrow. You can have your wealth and enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? And success, any achievement, you know, it all comes from God. There's man can't do anything. And that's all right. To any up and coming artists watching this right now,
yes, sir.
I just have to say this because this is something I feel like I struggle to fully encompass, you know, and realize it's like, and I think by now everyone should know this, but for those who don't, like, by the way, I gotta mention the only reason why I tried to meet any of these people besides just saying thank you for inspiring me was because that was the way it happened in the past. Cole got on because he met Jay-Z. Sean got on because he met Kanye. You know, like it literally happens that way. Like you have to meet the right person, rap for them, and then they believe in you and give you a shot. So that's the only reason why I was doing that. For anyone watching, I'm saying like, let's not forget that was the culture of getting on as an artist before social media when labels owned everything. Right?
That's a good point.
Obviously, it's like Jay-Z neglected Cole a couple of times when Cole was standing outside the studio. That was the full circle moment.
Facts.
Cole was standing outside the studio, and you know, Jay-Z neglected him, and Cole was standing in the rain. And Cole was like, "Man, F Jay-Z, whatever." Year later, Jay-Z signed him. You know, so there's always those full circle moments. But I think I realized, especially in this day and age, and even then, it still wasn't Kanye that put Big on. Big was chosen before Ye. Ye was just the medium God used. J. Cole was chosen before Jay-Z saw his blessing. Literally, like, Jay-Z was the medium, Rock Nation was the medium, you know, that God was going to use to make Cole who he needs to be, who he was. So it's the same thing for any artist up and coming, you know, or just thinking if you want to rap. All good things, all blessing, anything of value comes from God. That's what I've realized. And whether you acknowledge him for it or not, literally, he's the only one that gives. And when he gives, when he builds the home, it lasts forever. When he builds the career, it'll be as meaningful as possible. When he builds, you know, the vehicle, the medium, and you just give it to him, that's when the blessings come. And that's what I realized. I was looking in all the wrong places for my blessing, for my chance, for my opportunity, my next step. And I was doing all that I thought I could do. But the moment I realized that God is responsible for my success. Some people may say, well, you're responsible for your own success. You have human responsibility.
There's certain things that you can't control.
But there's things you can't control. People call it luck. People call it chance, favor. I would call it favor from God.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and providence, trusting in him, not knowing how it's going to turn out, but showing up every day, being consistent every day, making great art every day, making great music, great whatever you do every day. And then God will find a way to work his thing, because though Chosen was blowing up on the social media standpoints by some of these blogs and even some J. Cole pages that were putting, you know, my song up on their pages and getting like clout, and we're getting a lot of attention. And I think at that time I got like 1,000 new followers in like 2-3 weeks. you know, but then the 36,000 monthly listeners, that was from Spotify handpicking 3 of my records that were, you know, and put them on some of their biggest playlists. So this was literally Spotify saying, I choose you.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Which is literally so difficult because like thousands of songs get released on Spotify every week.
That's right.
Thousands get pitched. You can't really bet on getting pitched to say I'm gonna get pitched and my song's gonna end up on a playlist. Like literally first an algorithm has to think you're dope.
Yeah.
And then with the Spotify editorial playlist, a real human being picks those songs. So even though the machine, the algorithm thinks you're fire, someone has to listen to you and say, I want this or I don't.
So you have to make it through all these different barriers.
So many barriers.
Yeah.
How was I going to do that? And how did I think that by releasing my song, you know what I'm saying, Chosen gets picked up on an indie playlist. Then a week later, I get a notification that God Given and After All, songs that I released a year ago, are now being put on a playlist with over 600,000 likes on it. And like literally is one of Spotify's biggest playlists. Bro, it was literally like Jay-Z, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Nashbi, you know, Donald Glover, DMX, Eminem, Tupac, Biggie, Nashbi again.
Wow.
I was literally the only indie artist on this entire playlist. And playlists are modern day radio.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I'm saying?
That's
So
facts.
that was literally my radio placement. And the songs that were getting placed, that were getting the most hype, was God Given and After All. And so I'm assuming that when God, who, you know, made someone discover me through Chosen and putting Chosen on the indie playlist, that they probably listened to the rest of my music and became a fan. And they ironically were needing fresh music for their energetic hip hop playlist. That's the playlist if y'all want to check it out. Energetic hip hop is where they have my songs, you know, on there. And dog, that's where all these listeners that come from. So my best effort and best step was able to get me somewhat of a social media incline. But the biggest blessing were all these streams and numbers and this new following was God doing things that I couldn't do and got Spotify to literally handpick 3 records. Bro, that's literally like striking lightning, like, you know,
3
or
times.
catching, lightning in a bottle. To get 3 songs placed in a matter of 2 weeks, that's not heard of, especially those 2 songs are from last year. And then I'm an indie artist on a mainstream major label art. Like it's Jack Harlow, Eminem, DMX. Like it didn't make sense. And honestly, I didn't tell nobody when it happened. I was like, ooh, and kept it quiet for like 2 weeks. I thought it was a mistake. I was like, yo, they're gonna realize what they did and take my song off. So let me not brag or hype it up. But they left it there because it was supposed to be there. And yeah, bro, so many fans from that point. And then we just released All I Need, and you know, that's been going up too. So I just thank God. I know that was super long-winded, but I just wanted to give that truth, man.
We needed that, Nashbi, man. This has been so therapeutic, you know, talking to a fellow creative, man, just talking about God, talking about the journey, the path, man. Before we leave, very last question. Where do you see Nashbi within the next 5 to 10 years as a man, as an artist, creative, believer, everything?
Man, 5 to 10 years. Well, at the time of this interview, I'm 23. I'll be 24 in July. So we're looking at 28, 29 and beyond. By then, man, I pray platinum plaques are sitting up. Coming. I pray that me and you are rerouting for a 5-year follow-up or something. Definitely. And, you know, by then you've interviewed like the GOATs of that time and of the past and present. And I'm praying, you know, probably by then, start a family. Hopefully like somewhat financially free with music, like music being able to fund everything, and a couple Grammys, you know what I'm saying, couple Grammys, couple platinum plaques, you know, and just really bringing God to places where God would never be brought to. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like by then maybe, and shout out to Kanye. I'm surprised I didn't mention Kanye this entire interview because he inspires me a lot. And I really do believe Kanye was used to create a space for artists like me to even exist, because Kanye was really one of the first people to bridge that gospel and hip hop world so perfectly. And I think because of that, you know, it makes artists like me possible to perform at a secular event and then perform at a church the same record and still go crazy. You know, no limits, no boundaries. You know, I see myself at Grammy Awards, Dove Awards, Commons, Coachella.
Commons,
you know,
Coachella too. You already did.
Right, come back, right? But just literally like being on all platforms, man. Just being unapologetically me. Kind of Country Wayne doing Fox Theater, Apollo Theater, doing some of the biggest theaters in the nation, and rocking God. But bruh, when I went to his show live, man, at the Fox, you got church folk on this end. I'm hearing drug dealers behind me.
That's what it's all about.
He was talking about him, like, you know, selling drugs in the past, and somebody's like, yeah, a couple, you know, what is it? A couple grams or liter of cocaine and this and the third. Like, dude was like, yo, this dude used to sell for real. Whoever currently selling, there's someone behind me, but then you got a church mama on the other seat. So like, Country Wayne really created a space for everyone that's just black folk to coexist, love, and enjoy good comedy. You know what I'm saying? And so I pray to do that with my music, where I can bring in, you know, all types of genre, all types of people, culture, races, backgrounds, spiritual beliefs, and just unapologetically be me, you know, and touch the world, you know, with my music as much as I can, you know. And I believe it'll happen, and I'm just praying that, you know, whole team, shout out to the whole team, we just stay consistent and you know, follow through.
Man,
so
shout out to my brother Nashbi. Where can they follow you too, man? Keep up with your work.
Nashbi Official on everything. NashbiOfficial.com. That's NASHBI official.com. Nashbi Official on Instagram. Nashbi Official on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
I don't use Twitter, but you can follow me on there.
Yeah.
I deleted the app a long time ago, but the account still exists.
Okay.
But I'm mainly on IG. I'm mainly on obviously Spotify, just Nashbi, Apple Music, Tidal, NashbiOfficial.com. You can follow me there too.
Man, show him some love, y'all. Amazing brother. Nashbi, it was an honor, my man. Keep doing what you're doing. We love you, bro. Cushion Heights, black owned brand. Shout out to them. Shout out to the team. Thank you for the merch. Much love and support to every single person, all the creatives out there. Keep creating, keep being dope, and unleash your creative genius. We'll tap in next time. Again, blessed be your host, Caleb Smith.